Welcome to Sustainable Leadership Live. I'm Lisa Danforth, your host, and today we have the fabulous C. Jane Taylor. She's an author, she's a biker, she's a mom, she's a badass, and we're talking about how to cultivate confidence. So Jane, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm psyched to hear what you have to share.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. We talked about this for a while, and I'm really happy that this came around.
Yeah. I'm going to read a little bit about Jane just so that you know why she's talking about how to cultivate confidence. Jane is an author and a freelance writer living in Vermont. Soon after her first book, Spirit Traffic, was published, she took it on the road with a national book tour by motorcycle. 97 days in the saddle and 13,000 miles later, which is just amazing, Jane. Spirit Traffic recounts now how at the age of 50, Jane learned to ride a motorcycle, overcame the terror of navigating her steep dirt driveway in Vermont, and 3 days after her son's college graduation, set off with him and her husband on a cross-country motorcycle adventure that took them all into uncharted territory as novice riders and as a family. So she is completely familiar with the how-to and the importance of cultivating confidence. And I say, let's jump right in. You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump in with confidence. It's kind of hard to really just jump in and do it. How do we build up that nerve? How do we get the nerve to start stepping into this?
That's a great question. It takes time. I don't think any of us is born with confidence, right? I mean, we're naked little babies who need their moms when we're born. And I'm trying to think about being confident in like fifth grade. I don't think that happened. I think it's like, is any confident fifth graders out there? It took, I think, my whole life, and I'm still working on it. So it's the kind of thing, instead of, if you're building a house, you have a foundation and you build the sides and then you build the roof. This is more like building an identity, and it has to do with the way that you think about yourself. And that starts with awareness. So I've done a workshop about confidence a couple different times, and there are 4 steps. Awareness is the first one, because you have to be aware of who you are, how you're feeling, what you're up to, things like that. And then action, you have to do something about those feelings, right? And do something about your understanding. It's not just that, oh, I lack confidence for this thing. It's like, okay, what am I going to do about it? And then reflect. Reflection is the next step. So it's like, okay, what are the things that make me feel more adept at my job or my relationships or my public speaking ability, which is something that I'm still working on.
You're doing great.
All right. And then integration is the last step. And it's completely simplified. It's just like saying, to build a car, you put wheels on and then a frame and then the top. But integration is the last thing. And integration is about how you integrate these things into your daily life. It's like, okay, I'm aware of this aspect of myself. I want to do these things about it, and reflection works into that. And then what am I going to do every day to make this new perception or this desired goal or this, a dream? What am I going to do every day? And it could be little things like, here's a great example, writing a book. I never thought that I had what it takes to write a book ever. I've been writing as part of my living, since I was 30. And writing a book is like, it's so daunting, but look, here it is. I did it.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold it back up. We couldn't quite see it.
Oh, here we go.
There we go. Spirit Traffic, a mother's journey to self-discovery and letting go. Go out and buy this. It's phenomenal. It will change your life.
Thank you. So I had to have a daily practice to get that book done. And the practice is application. Apply the butt to the chair. I did it for 2 hours every weekday. Oh, there's
Wow.
David Rose. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
And it was, these small steps. Then I got to 60,000 words, then, 65,000 words, which is a book. So
It takes time.
it takes time. It takes time and commitment to build confidence.
David, I love your comment. Every day, discipline trumps motivation. Small gains every day for the win. And by the way, he loves your book. That discipline
Yeah,
is so
thanks,
very
David.
important, is the consistency. So even if you don't have the discipline yet to sit and write for 2 hours a day, if you sat down and wrote for 2 minutes consistently
Yeah,
every day
definitely.
and then
Yeah.
kind of build up, I think we can trip ourselves up by thinking, oh my gosh, it's got to be 10 hours minimum a week.
Yeah, and also people thinking that I'm writing the great American novel. I mean, certainly we all hope that we're doing that,
Mhm.
but I might write the great American novel 4 books from now. This is just the beginning. So there's a certain, you've got to give yourself a little grace when you're building confidence, because it's, especially if you're coming from a difficult place or low self esteem, or maybe you've been a victim. There are things, you've got a big mountain to climb, and you just have to go step by step. So it
Yeah.
sounds simple, but it's not easy.
Well, and yes, that is huge, right? So many of the things that we know we should do are very, very simple, but they're not easy, and that can completely trip us up. So allowing ourselves that spaciousness of time,
Yeah.
compassionate curiosity allows
Yeah.
us to really step into that. But I love how you're saying, like, it does take time. It's not like I'm going to build my confidence and wake up tomorrow and it's percolating.
Yay.
Yeah.
Put on that cape and there you go. Um, it's the white space that you wrote about on LinkedIn the other day is like,
Mm.
yeah, we need that space in order to, well, do the steps.
Yeah.
Awareness, reflection, integration, all the things. It's action. What are we going to do? So, yeah, I like that.
So starting with awareness, can you just give, I mean, we can often say, okay, I'm aware that I'm not confident, but are there other things that we should be aware of, watching, taking note of that are going to help us move into action?
Sure. And this, I also teach yoga. So some of my perspective comes from teaching yoga. And the philosophy of the yoga style that I study is first see the good. It's not that
Mm,
bad stuff doesn't exist, it's that you don't look for it first.
right.
First, you see the good, and you have to learn how to do that for yourself. So even if it's a small thing, if you notice, wow, spending 5 minutes writing in my journal makes me feel pretty good. All right. And then celebrate each little step. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a giant thing. It doesn't have to be, I got my PhD. It could be, I looked up the definition of a word in the dictionary. Hooray. I still know how to use Google.
It's so true. And I love that you're driving that home. It doesn't have to be massive to help us make movement and forward to where we want to go.
It's true. And the other, going back to the self perspective, I've been reading about episodic memory, right? And my husband and I were talking about this yesterday about we have plenty of opportunities. We've had plenty of sort of really difficult experiences on the road, like lightning storms and rain and dirt and dangerous roads and things like that. But that isn't the focus. The
Mhm.
focus is, oh my God, that view. Remember that one road and how amazing? So, looking at your memory, choosing to remember the exciting and wonderful and enthralling aspects of your life. This is the way memory is a recollection of autobiographical experience, right? You get to write your autobiography. That auto part in the beginning is you, so you can choose the things that you want to focus on. I dropped my bike on my knee a couple years
Mm.
ago. And I had, it's funny, I was with a trans friend and she looked at my knee after the fact and she said, "Oh, LGBTQ knee, rainbow knee." Just like, Elise, come on. But so instead of thinking about how painful my knee was, I have a story about my friend Elise.
Mhm.
So you get to choose. It's not that the bad stuff doesn't exist. I did in the sand. I dropped my bike. It's 400 pounds. It landed right on my knee. It was super painful. And I learned from that, right? But
Mhm.
that's not my focus. My focus is like, because I like to tell stories and I'm a writer, I focus on this great story of this person, my friend Elise. And it's like, you're the biographer of your autobiography.
And I think that is what helps us live and lead sustainably, right? Those difficult moments when we can focus on the lesson, when we can focus on the story that doesn't take the negative away or the difficulty away, but it allows us to focus moving forward, right?
Yeah,
And still experiencing what happened.
yeah, it's true. And I have a friend who, he's 10 or 15 years older than me, and he used to go camping with this guy who was 20 or 30 years older than him. And they went camping in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, and they did all these great adventures together, this old man and this younger man. And Silas is his name. Silas says, you never remember the mosquitoes.
Most of the time.
Yeah, right. I mean,
There are
sometimes,
times in Maine and Vermont where it's like, you remember.
yeah, it's true. But that isn't the big focus. So.
So let's move into heroism. When we were talking about that, and you had a beautiful quote when we were chatting in the green room before we went live. Can you explain, just talk a little bit about that and how that helps us to cultivate confidence?
Well, here's a great list from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. These are the 12 central traits of heroism: bravery, conviction, courage, determination, helpfulness, honesty, inspiration, moral integrity, protectiveness, self sacrifice, selflessness, and strength. Check it out. Those are the characteristics of an entrepreneur. They're the characteristics of a mom.
Yeah.
They're the characteristics of, a hero. Anybody who's trying to make a difference in the world has all of these things: self
Mhm.
sacrifice, selflessness, moral integrity. These are all great entrepreneurial traits that it's funny that it's also, these are the traits of a mom, right? So the quote that I read earlier, this is from heroism researchers Zeno Franco and Philip Zimbardo. The decision to act heroically is a choice that many of us will be called upon to make at some point in time. By conceiving of heroism as a universal attribute of human nature, not as a rare feature of the few heroic elect,
Mhm.
heroism becomes something that seems in the range of possibility for every person, perhaps inspiring more of us to answer that call. My interpretation of that phrase is, you already have what it takes.
I think so often we do, but we don't see it. We run from it, we hide it, or we've been told to shy away from it, basically, I
Mhm,
think. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, I think that's probably true.
So let's talk about how building confidence. This was one thing that you mentioned earlier as well. Building confidence is not like building a house. It's like building an identity.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I'm a huge believer in identity. Identity, our beliefs drive all of our behavior. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this.
Well, I was thinking about this in the shower, and this is where all the good thoughts happen, right?
Same thing.
Also, motorcycling when you're on the bike, that you just think. Um, the I was thinking about having faith in your inner power. And I was like, well, is that faith in the divine or faith in a higher power? And I think that's up for the interpretation of each
Mhm.
individual person. But I think that having some faith in yourself is where you start to build this identity. And maybe it could start really small with a cup of coffee. I make the best cup of coffee in my whole house, right? It's not true. My husband makes better coffee, but
It's a great
it's,
example, though.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my dog Dewey, I'll say to him, Dewey, you are the best boy in this whole room. And it's like, it's true. It's
Mm.
small, but finding those smaller things upon which you can build. This
Yeah.
is the foundation. This is the awareness. And also, speaking about identity, it's you have to try things out. Some things might not fit. It might. I was thinking that I was going to lead weekend long retreats. And then I was really excited about it and just totally amped. And then I looked at the details of it and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
advertising, finding the host, getting food, and then I was like, oh, food allergies, oh geez, and then COVID, and do we have 6 feet apart? Are we going to be inside? Are we going to be outside? And then I'm not great with those kind of details, so I rethought that idea, and it's like I tried it on for a while,
Mhm.
and it didn't quite fit, so now I'm doing something else. So, taking time, trying things out. And also, I think having a friend, having a companion, having a
So true. Accountability partner of some sort.
exactly an accountability partner. Um, I don't think any of us does anything alone in the end, right?
We're not meant to be alone. We're definitely heard. We want to be around people. I really like how you said you just try it on. So often we think that when we say we're going to do something, we've got to go all in.
Yeah,
I'm a 5-time entrepreneur, and I've always said I'm going to go down a hallway and open up a door that interests me, and if I don't like it, I'm going to go down another one. We get to do that, and I think we forget that we have those choices, right? We
yeah,
forget that the lens is ours. I don't really want to do this, even though I said I did. I changed my mind
right.
after exploring, and giving ourselves some grace is so important. I believe it or not, we're getting up just about at time, but I would love it if you would share. I remember reading, gosh, was it on your website, about how when you got a letter from AARP, you tore it up and went out and bought your bike. Can you just talk a little bit
Yes,
about that? Because that's really the start of things, right?
yeah. Well, when you turn 50, AARP knows it, and they send you a letter, and it's like, dude, I'm not ready for that.
Hmm.
I'm not. So I went out and got a motorcycle, and the motorcycle, it's a BMW 650, and this was sort of in response to my husband's suggestion that we buy 3 motorcycles to celebrate Emmett's graduation from college. This is my son. So we bought 3 bikes, and we were all new riders,
Oh, I
and
didn't realize that.
we yeah, we were all 3, we're still friends. We were new riders, and we rode across the country and back, and that's what Spirit Traffic is about, that
Mm.
adventure. So it's like, the Dylan Thomas poem, do not go gentle into that good night, rage, rage against the dying of the light. I'm raging.
Especially against ARP. We have a comment here by the Paula Diaco. This is such a lovely conversation, you two. Lisa Danforth and Jane Taylor brought your full selves for the whole show. Oh, you are so sweet, Paula. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I love these types of conversations where it's just real. We're just digging in and sharing. And you have shared such amazing brilliance and tools and different ways that we can approach how to cultivate confidence for ourselves, because it's not it's necessary, but it's not necessarily so easy to do.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, Jane, I would love to ask you one question. What
Sure.
one habit or boundary has helped you to live and lead a more sustainable life?
Oh, one habit. It would have to be looking for the good and
Mm, I love that.
choosing the good. I mean, there are crappy things that happen, like the frozen pipes. People might relate to that right now. Um, that's not what I'm thinking about. I mean, that's part of the big picture, but it's not the entirety of the big picture. So first seeing the good and looking for it. If you're in a place that seems dark, um, looking for the good is something that all of us can do, and it exists.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of bringing your attention to it.
Right, right. And it doesn't mean that we have to be jumping for joy. It just means looking for a sliver of good to focus on in
Yeah,
a moment that we're struggling. I love that. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing. I really appreciate it.
yeah. Thank you.
Where can people reach out to you, contact you? Is it LinkedIn, your website? Where would you like for someone to reach out?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. My website is cjanetaylor.com. And I also have a Sunday love letter that I send every week. And last week I wrote about electronic dance music in Montreal. And that was sort of a big hit. A lot of people wrote back to me. My friend Reg Cottrell in Santa Cruz is 80, and he says, "Oh, I love EDM." So, so anyway, if people would like to get a love letter every week, sign up for my love letter. Go to my website, cjanetaylor.com, and sign up for the love letter. It's a pretty fun. It's usually humorous. Sometimes it's motorcycles. It's usually just life, but
Yeah.
it's a fun piece that I just send
But it's
as a
always beautifully
practice.
written. Always
Oh,
beautifully
thank
written.
you.
Thank you. I just want to clarify your website. Is it C. Jane Taylor or is it just cjanetaylor.com? Just
C. Jane Taylor, all one word.
okay.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
And it looks
Yeah.
like David Rose loves your love letter. So
He, thanks, David.
awesome. Thanks for joining us, David, Paula, whoever. And if you're watching on the replay, please post hashtag replay and put your comments in. If you have any questions, Jane can come back in and answer them for you. So next week, we have Deb Chisholm joining us. She is an
Oh,
empowerment
great.
coach. She is lovely. She knows her stuff, and she's just going to bring her brilliance. February 8th, please join us 10 o'clock a.m. East Coast time, 7 a.m. Pacific, and we will see you next week. Jane, thanks again so much for joining, sharing your brilliance, sharing your story. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Thank you, Lisa. What a thrill.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.